Welcome, everyone, to the Spend Life Well Show, where we apply biblical wisdom to your financial journey. I'm Certified Kingdom Advisor Mark Trice. I'm joined in the studio by fellow financial advisor Jesse Hamilton.
Hello, Mark. How's it going?
Hey, man, it's going well. I'm excited. We're kind of in the beginning months or beginning weeks of the summer.
It's getting hot out there.
It is getting hot outside. I'm trying to stay inside when it gets this hot, but thankfully here in Central Texas, we've had a little bit of rain from time to time. At least it's not a complete drought. But today, what I thought would be, I listened to or read an article on the Faith 5 website. Now, Faith 5 is one of our favorite radio programs. I've got a great website.
Great resource for people if you just have general questions. You want to learn more about this industry or your personal finances. Great spot.
Now, the host there is Rob West, President and CEO of Kingdom Advisors, and a great resource for anybody that wants to look at biblical wisdom applied to your financial life. And today I thought we'd talk about 5 rules for using credit cards. This is from that article that I pulled out on the Faith 5 website. And I'm reminded of my own struggles, Jesse.
Okay.
We won't ask you to share any of yours or anybody else that you may know. But, I'm reminded of my own struggles when I was in my 20s and things like that. I thought credit was easy. Credit was to be used for any purchases and things. You could, buy now, pay later.
Right.
And I quickly ran up quite a bit of debt.
Well, we've talked about Proverbs 22 several times on this show.
Yeah.
Verse 7, the rich rule over the poor and the borrower is slave to the lender. That's straight, wisdom from the Bible.
Now, that's a pretty strong word to say that because I'm borrowing money, I'm slave to the lender.
I know it's pretty strong, but that's what it says.
Well, I think there's some rules that you need to follow when you're thinking about using credit cards. Now,
right.
You might, if you listen to Dave Ramsey, he said, don't use credit cards, use your debit cards for normal everyday purchases. Don't buy anything that you can't afford. But I think this article is really good from Faith 5, and I thought we'd go through the 5 rules there, and we'll share some personal experiences if it fits.
And he is right about a lot of things. Credit card companies are out there to make money. They are for profit, and they have lots of tricky ways that they might make money off of you.
How did you get your first credit card? You mind sharing that story?
Sure. I was just in college, and I actually wanted to build some credit. So I applied for a card through my bank and got it pretty easily with a really low limit. I just started putting a couple $100 a month on it and pay it off, and it helped.
My first credit card was the Discover card.
Okay.
And, there I am in college, and there's this really cute girl sitting at a table out in front of the bookstore, and she convinced me to apply.
Wow.
Yeah. I got a T-shirt out of it, though. But I quickly was like, hey, credit card, I can go buy a new TV.
So was it helpful or harmful?
It was very harmful.
Okay.
I should have never gotten that first credit card. Otherwise, but I learned through some painful experiences of what to do and what not to do. It took a while to pay that off. But I got to tell you, I bought that 32-inch TV. It was a CRT type monitor. That's kind of fancy back then. It only weighed about 400 pounds. And anytime we ever moved, and my wife and I moved several times in our young adult ages, we had to get 2 guys to come help me move it. Anyway, not only was it not worth the purchase, but it was not worth the debt that I would incur. So what's rule number 1 when it comes to using credit cards?
Rule number 1 is use it for only budgeted purposes, meaning you already have enough cash in your account to make the purchase.
So I would only buy it if I have the cash to make the purchase.
Exactly. We're talking in your checking account or in your savings account.
I think I'm going to get it in a few weeks.
Yeah.
I've already got it in my account, which begs the question, why use your credit card anyway? Well, there may be some reasons. We'll get to those in a second. I'm reminded there was a great Saturday Night Live skit years ago. It was back in the early 2000s. It involved Steve Martin. And the thing is that they were offering this brochure about how to get out of debt or how to stay out of debt. And the rule number 1 was don't buy stuff you cannot afford.
Yeah.
And Steve Martin, he was like, wow, you mean I shouldn't buy things that I cannot afford?
Right.
This applies to rule number 1. Don't make purchases with your credit card unless it's budgeted and you already have the cash.
That's right.
Sitting there waiting in your bank account to pay for that purchase. So, as funny as Steve Martin is, it's true. Don't buy stuff you cannot afford.
Exactly.
Rule number 2. What rule number 2, Jesse?
Pay off the entire balance when the bill arrives. And you can easily do this if you're following rule number 1.
Of course, if I don't buy stuff I cannot afford,
Right.
and I'll have the cash in the bank account to pay the bill, I can pay it off every month.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happens when you mix purchases and things like that?
Well,
and don't keep track of it, and you think, well, I'll pay for that next month.
sure.
It can stockpile on you. You can
It
build up
does.
really fast, and suddenly you don't have enough money to pay off the bill that month.
Well, I think about, when we go out to eat, maybe with a group of friends, and someone's like, oh, I'll just cover it and send me a Venmo or something later. Suddenly, you're making the purchase, and then you're going to reimburse it. But if you're not careful, you can actually kick your purchases down the road further, and you can get in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I've personally experienced that. I bought too much stuff, didn't have the money to pay it off, and then you end up paying 29% interest
Right.
on that stupid $10 purchase at Chipotle, right? I mean, that's a way that you get into debt, is by not paying off the balances every month. Rule number 3, if you can't pay the full balance, Jesse, what should we do?
You should just stop using the card. And this might even include you don't carry the card with you. Or if it's even this extreme, maybe you cut the card.
No. Ow, that's just harsh, Jesse. Why would I want to cut the card up?
You've seen in the movies people like freeze them in a block, or they throw them off a balcony or
Yes,
something.
that was, somebody else can use it if they throw it off the balcony. But we were talking about just a few minutes ago, Confessions of a Shopaholic. And I don't remember who was in the movie and stuff, but there was a scene in there where she had such a shopping problem that she froze her credit card in a block of ice. But then she couldn't resist, so there's a scene and she's in her kitchen. She takes off her high heels and starts pounding the ice, trying to get into it.
Yeah.
Now, when
You
we
might have a
teach-
problem.
Yeah, you might have a problem. You have to do that. But, we teach classes all the time, and we have some fun with it,
Yeah.
right? So, we've seen people as they're getting out of debt and they're paying off their credit cards, or they're not using their credit cards anymore. We've seen them cut them up and make origami art by melting the credit cards on a piece of wax paper in the oven. We've seen that. One of my favorites is to blend the card. And I
Gotta
try
have
to-
a pretty hefty blender to do that.
You do, because there's a segment on YouTube a while back. I don't know if it's still out there. Is like the segment was "Will it blend?"
Oh, I used to watch that.
Okay, so credit cards will blend fairly easily, but you do need a strong blender to do that. But it's fine, and you get to see that kind of all chop up. Blending your iPhone's a little bit more difficult. So if you're not able to pay it off, maybe you should stop using the cards. That's rule number 3. I know when I was trying to get out of debt, I had to give up my cards. I had to shred them. And that was tough because I had developed a lifestyle that was based on credit and not paying them off. And I had to abruptly adjust my lifestyle and just to be able to hit those goals of paying off the cards. What's rule number 4?
So this one's hard. Rule number 4 is never buy on impulse. Wait a day and an urge might go away, because it feels pretty good to buy something fun with credit.
Yeah, and what if it's on sale?
Yeah, you don't want to lose money, right?
Yeah, you don't want to lose money, but you should never buy on impulse. If there's something that you must have, it will probably be there tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So wait a day, sleep on it, pray about it,
Do some research.
do some research. May not be the best price, right?
Mm-hmm.
So never buy on impulse, because we tend to overspend. In fact, it was Dave Ramsey released some research. This was years ago, probably a decade ago, and basically said that if you use plastic to make a purchase rather than cash, you're likely to spend up to 27% more for the same item than if somebody had to pry some dollar bills from your hands
Yeah, that makes
to
sense.
pay for the purchase. And that's right. We just don't think about it. It's like you want the protection plan. Oh, sure. I never do that, but it's easy because you're just swiping it, right?
And when it's on credit card, you pull up your bank statement on your phone, and the amount has not reduced in your account, so it feels good.
I got money. There was a one of my economist friends sent an article today about the result of the student loan crisis and the forbearance on payments the last 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
And it found that rather than people paying down the student loan notes, they racked up more credit card debt. So we're going to see a mess here soon.
Yes.
I digress. Sorry, listeners. We may have to edit that part out if Jessica wants to edit that out, but that was a true story. Yes, all day. All right, so never buy on impulse. Wait a day. Maybe the feeling will go away. I think that's a problem because sometimes when I see something, I was like, oh, I got to have that. I want it now.
Right. And if you go shopping just to go shopping, it's even harder. But
Yeah.
some people really enjoy doing that, and there is a right way and a wrong way to do that too.
Yeah, there is. So the fifth rule is, fifth rule is to optimize your reward points.
So finally, we're to the potential positives of
Yeah.
credit card, which
Yeah.
we've been pretty hard on them the whole episode.
Right.
There are some rewards if you use them well. But yeah, you need to optimize those.
But only if you follow rules number 1 through 4.
Right. That's why it's rule number 5. You have to get the first 4 out of the way before you get here. But there's so many benefits if you
Yeah,
use
there
it
can
well.
be. I mean, you can get some cash back, things like that. But that doesn't justify using the credit just to get the cash back.
Right. That's
right?
a bad deal.
Right, especially if you're carrying a balance. Folks, there can be lots of benefits, and our society tells us that plastic's easy. You know, there used to be a few years ago, it was a Barbie called Shopping Barbie.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Shopping Barbie was the worst teaching tool for a child when it comes to managing your money.
She had a pretty high credit limit.
She had a pretty high credit limit. Every time she swiped the card in the little register, it said, "You're approved." You're approved. Every time, and then when she maxed out her card, it would say, "Your credit limit's been increased. Congratulations."
Did she grow up to work for the federal government?
No, she didn't. She's living off Daddy, or maybe Ken. I don't know. Daddy or Ken, one of the two. She lives in Malibu. Who knows what's going on there?
Nice.
So, but you can use credit cards, but do it responsibly. Follow these rules here. Make the most of that. And if you have cards that are offering rewards that are not charging an annual fee and things like that, those can be used for certain things. Dave Ramsey one time said that no one ever got wealthy off of Discover points, and that's true.
It is.
You're not going to get wealthy. Maybe there's some perks associated with different cards, and the card companies want to compete for your business, but they hate it when you pay off the balance.
Mm-hmm.
They love it when you carry a high balance, and it's very addictive to live that lifestyle. So we just encourage you to make sure that you're living within your means, that you use your cards wisely, follow the 4 rules that we talked about, using it only for budgeted purposes, pay off the balance in full each month. If you can't pay the full balance, stop using it, and then never buy on impulse. Always wait a day, especially for large purchases. Now, do you and your wife have rules when it comes to large purchases? Do y'all talk about it? Or?
Yes, we do. We have a set dollar amount, whether it's on credit, debit, cash, whatever, that we talk about before we make. And so that definitely helps.
It is.
Flourish communication between the two.
That really does help. We have the same rule. It's not a rule. It's just a personal courtesy to say, hey, we want to live within our means. So if we find something we want to buy, we're going to talk about it. And usually, my wife can find a reason why I don't need that thing I want. So,
yeah, we both use credit cards, and we've had times we've had to rein it in, or we've had times that we've had to, the opportunity to use them more. So we've been on both sides.
Okay, great. So credit cards can be great if you use them responsibly. Until next time, from Jesse and I, we want to wish you a pleasant week. And you've been listening to the Spend Life Well Show. We'll join you next time. Have a great week.